we've talked about how busy the mind is, but I think it's worth also talking about how important the mind is so that we can appreciate why we need to rest it, why we need to train it, why we need mindfulness. Because our minds are so important. The science says that we have on average 50,000 thoughts a day, and that 95% of them can be thoughts that we've already had. It's a very busy place to be, and it's not always the most productive, peaceful, positive place to be. We have a negativity bias in our brains that wires us. We're predisposed to lean more towards the negative than we are towards the positive. And this has been as a result of evolution, when back in the day that saber-toothed tigers existed, we were predisposed to look for danger, to look for the bad things that could happen so that we could protect ourselves, so that we could make decisions about fight or flight. And that was great in evolutionary times for survival, but less useful now, particularly when we often listen to that negative voice in our heads that tells us all sorts of things that then impacts our health, our happiness, and our moods. When we think about our minds, everything starts there. What we think becomes what we feel, and that becomes how we act. Everything begins in the mind. Anything that we see around us today that's been created by somebody began as an idea in their mind. You doing this course and listening to this lecture now, that began as an idea in your mind. And it's true to say that our thoughts make our world. Everything begins in our mind. So what we think becomes what exists in our world and our lives. We only have to look at people's belief systems and values to appreciate that. Yet, what is it that we do, given the mind is that important, what is it that we do to look after it? I think of all the things that we do for our physical bodies, the gym memberships, the beauty products, the clothes, the haircuts, all of the things that we do physically to look after ourselves. But what do we do mentally to look after our minds? For the musicians out there, it's a little bit like your musical instrument. As a musician, if you don't look after it, maintain it, clean it, keep it in good condition, it will produce a rubbish sound. And our mind is no different. If we don't look after it, then we produce negative thoughts. It's an unpeaceful, busy place to be. And the thing with our minds is that they go everywhere with us. So we can be on the nicest beach, on our holidays with the best resort, the beautiful weather. But if our mind is busy and unpeaceful and negative, we're not going to enjoy ourselves. Or as monk Matthew Ricard puts it, if I give you a 5-star penthouse, all you'll do is look for a window from which to jump. So it's so important what we put in our minds. And I like the Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or you can't, you're probably right. And this is true of our minds. If we tell ourselves that we can't do something, that's likely to happen. And the reverse of that is also true. We look at things like the placebo effect, where people can be given nothing more than a sugar pill and still get the perceived benefits from the medication that they're told it will provide, because the belief systems are so strong, because our minds are so powerful. Equally, we used to think many years ago that the earth was flat and not round, and this was a fact. This was something we believed. And it's one of the reasons why so many top sports teams now and businesses use mindfulness, because of the impact of positive thinking and because of the power of our minds and how we tap into what we think is what we get. And we're also starting to see now a lot of science behind the physical health benefits of our mind. When we take care of our mind, the impact that then has on our physical health. And this isn't new. Yes, the science is finally catching up with what ancient wisdom has long known. But William James was a psychologist hundreds of years ago, and he said human beings can alter their lives by altering their minds. And this is so true, which is why mindfulness is so important.